On a stormy night by Lake Michigan, Jack happened upon a mysterious girl in a white dress, a ghost wandering the thin line between life and death. As the dark truth of her past slowly unraveled, Jack and his sister Maggie were drawn into a shadowy labyrinth filled with ancient curses, vengeful spirits, and inexplicable supernatural forces. They had to confront horrors beyond imagination to free a trapped soul and fight for the light before they themselves were swallowed by darkness. This is the story of the Vanishing Hitchhiker, the curse that never ends beside the cold lake. Jack Turner drove his truck slowly along the winding road by Lake Michigan. The rain fell heavily, each drop tapping sharply against the windshield, creating a blurred curtain. The headlights cut through the thick rain, casting light on the dark trees whispering in the cold wind. The wet road reflected the dim lights, like a strange, gloomy world. Jack sighed wearily, longing to reach his small house in the town of Lakewood soon, to leave behind a long, lonely day at work. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, eyes tracing every curve, feeling the cold breeze sneaking through the cracks of the window. Suddenly, under the pale yellow streetlight, Jack saw a figure standing by the roadside, a girl wearing a long white dress, soaked through with rain, her long black hair hanging heavy like waterlogged strands. Her face was pale to the point of lifelessness, her eyes clear but chillingly cold. The girl weakly waved, as if asking for help. Jack rolled down the window, cautiously asking, "Do you need a ride? Want to get in?" She didn't answer immediately, only nodded softly, then stepped closer to the car door. Jack opened it, and she gently sat beside him. The air inside grew cold, filled with a chill like mist. Jack looked at her again. Something was wrong, not in her appearance, but in the way she existed, like an entity from another realm, not belonging to this world. "What's your name? Why are you standing alone out here in the rain at night?" She smiled faintly, her voice soft but carrying a distant echo. "Emily, I just want to go home." Her words whispered through the damp space inside. The car, the interior lights flickered faintly, as if about to go out. Jack tried to focus, but an unnameable unease crept over him. He felt a cold breath brush past him. Then the girl began to fade, turning into a pale streak of light within the stormy night. Jack shouted in alarm, "Hey, are you okay? Say something." Emily looked at him with bottomless eyes, then suddenly smiled, a cold smile that sent shivers down his spine. The wind howled fiercely off the lake. The rain fell harder, as if the sky itself was enraged. Jack's heavy breathing echoed in the cold cabin. A chill ran down his spine when he felt an invisible hand rest on his shoulder. He turned his head, but saw only thick darkness and black trees swaying in the wind. "What the hell is going on?" he whispered hoarsely inside. The truck kept rolling through the heavy rain. The white figure beside Jack remained motionless, silent like an unsolvable mystery. Outside, the wind and rain merged into the thick darkness that engulfed everything. Jack knew tonight would never be as peaceful as he had hoped. Jack couldn't shake the cold feeling left on him when the white figure vanished in the rain. His eyes remained fixed where she had stood, as if trying to hold on to that strange moment. But the road stretched endlessly ahead, headlights flickering in the dense fog, casting ghostly shadows that danced in the night. When the truck stopped before an old house hidden in the woods by the lake, Jack looked out to see the girl step down and disappear into the darkness, like a faint light dissolving in the icy air. He wanted to call out, but his voice seemed swallowed by the dense night and steady rain. The door closed quietly, as if no one had ever entered. Jack sat there, full of questions and anxiety, staring into the darkness ahead. He tried to call Emily's name, but only empty echoes answered. His chest tightened with a vague fear. Who was this girl? Why was she standing alone in the rain at night? And what made her vanish without a trace? The next day, Jack went to the town of Lakewood, hoping for answers. He stepped into a small roadside cafe where locals gathered. The warmth inside sharply contrasted the chill he had just experienced. Jack asked about the girl by the roadside the night before, but all he got were evasive looks and uneasy silence. A middle-aged man with a stern face and cold eyes, known as Sheriff Daniels, entered the cafe. His gaze settled on Jack for a moment, as if sensing something amiss. Sheriff Daniels spoke in a hoarse, heavy voice. "There's no one named Emily standing by the road here. Maybe you saw things or imagined it." Jack felt something strange in the sheriff's words, as if a veil of secrets was slowly being lifted. Not giving up, he turned to his sister Maggie. a smart girl passionate about the supernatural. When Jack told her about the mysterious girl, Maggie was silent for a moment, then looked at him with sorrowful eyes. "Emily Blackwood," she said. "She died 10 years ago in a car accident right on this road. They say her spirit still wanders the lake, trying to get back home." Maggie's words struck deep into Jack's mind. He began to realize he was stepping into a story, not just coincidence, but a dark, haunting mystery. Last night was not just a rainy ride, it was an encounter with a soul trapped between two worlds. Jack knew that to find the truth, he had to face ghosts from the past and, maybe, even risk being drawn into the endless spiral himself. Jack returned to the road from the night before. This time it was daytime, but the atmosphere still felt heavy, even gloomier. The rain had stopped, but puddles remained on the asphalt, like mirrors reflecting the grey sky. The trees lining the road bent gently in the breeze, casting long dark shadows that clung to everything as if trying to embrace it. He pulled over and stepped out, looking toward the old house where Emily had vanished. The faded paint on the door was tightly shut. The wooden walls were peeling like scars of time and pain that refused to fade. There was no sign anyone lived there, yet a cold emptiness kept Jack from getting any closer. Jack started walking along the road, trying to recall every detail about the mysterious girl. Faint images surfaced in his mind, her clear eyes filled with sorrow, the white dress drenched in rain, and the cold smile he could never forget. Suddenly, from a distance, a police car pulled up by the roadside. Sheriff Daniels stepped out, his gaze sharp and wary. He approached Jack with a dry, harsh voice. "You shouldn't be so curious about that. Some things are better left alone." Jack answered firmly, "I can't ignore knowing a soul still wanders this road. Someone has to help her." Sheriff Daniels was silent for a moment, then looked at Jack with a warning in his eyes. "Be careful, Jack. There are things beyond this world you can't understand." As the police car drove away, Jack felt a loneliness deeper than ever before. He knew he was being pulled into a dark spiral with no end in sight. Back home, Jack met Maggie. His sister had prepared some old documents and reports about Emily's accident. Maggie said, "Emily Blackwood wasn't just a young girl who died. She had a tragic story and an unbroken curse. We need to dig deeper into her past." Together, they planned to investigate the evidence, hoping to find clues to help Emily find peace. But what they didn't expect was that the deeper they dug, the tighter the darkness wrapped around them, bringing terrifying mysteries and more visible supernatural forces. Jack and Maggie spent many days searching for information about Emily Blackwood, starting with old records at the Lakewood Town Library. The dusty archive room felt frozen in time, with only the sound of turning pages and their sighs breaking the silence. Maggie carefully flipped through old newspapers. Her eyes grew tense as she discovered a series of articles about a horrific car accident on the road by Lake Michigan exactly 10 years ago. Emily Blackwood, a beautiful young woman, had died in a tragic car crash. Her vehicle lost control and plunged into a deep ravine beside the lake. Her body was found mangled, with no sign of timely rescue. Rumors spread that she was trying to escape something. Since then, many locals claimed to have seen Emily's figure appearing along the road on stormy nights. Jack shuddered, reading the detailed descriptions of the crash scene. He looked at Maggie, determination burning in his eyes. "We have to know exactly what happened. If Emily still wanders, she must be seeking help." Maggie nodded, then opened an old diary found in the library, written by one of Emily's close friends. The diary pages revealed her life before death, loneliness, fear, and mysterious threats from an unknown person. But the most chilling was the last note in the diary. "If anyone reads this, please set me free. I'm trapped between two worlds and cannot find my way home." As night fell, Jack began sensing strange changes in his mind. Dreams haunted him where he saw himself standing beside her body in the cold rain, hearing whispers echoing from the darkness. One night, while driving home the familiar way, Emily's figure appeared behind his truck, her eyes burning red with pain. He tried to look back in the mirror, but she vanished instantly, leaving a chilling cold deep in his bones. Jack understood the story of Emily wasn't just a rumor. It was a real plea from a trapped soul, and he was the only one who could help her find peace. But to do that, he and Maggie had to confront the deep darkness hidden behind the accident, where truth was buried with pain and relentless hatred. In the following days, Jack started receiving mysterious calls. His phone rang late at night, when only the steady rain and wind whispered through cracks. But every time he answered, the other side breathed faintly, then fell silent. Strange texts appeared too, indecipherable lines filled with odd characters, and blurry images like fleeting white shadows in the fog. One night, while driving home again, the phone rang. He slowly picked up. A weak, broken voice came through. "Jack, help me. I can't find my way home." A chill ran down his spine. Jack recognized the voice. It was Emily's. His heart pounded as he asked with trembling voice, "Emily, who are you really? What do you want from me?" The breathy sigh continued, mixed with howling wind and distant, strange sounds. Suddenly, the phone went dead, leaving Jack in terrifying silence. It didn't stop there. The white ghost spirit began appearing around Jack's truck. He felt the cold cling to every corner of the cabin. The doors would open and slam shut by themselves, though he didn't touch them. Sometimes, in the rearview mirror, he caught a glimpse of a girl in white, eyes glowing red with pain. Jack tried to stay calm, but it felt like someone was watching him closely, shadowing his every step. The nights grew more eerie. The sighs and whispered voices echoed in his ears whenever he tried to sleep. This was no imagination. A supernatural force was near him, pulling him into a world of darkness and spirits. Jack knew he had to face it or be lost forever. He decided to call Maggie, telling her everything had gone beyond control. Maggie listened carefully, then suggested taking him to meet an old man in the village, Harold, known for his deep knowledge of mystical things and ancient curses. Meeting Harold was a turning point in Jack's journey. The old man told him about an ancient curse linked to Lake Michigan souls that could not pass on, bound by grudges and restless spirits. He warned Jack that if Emily was not freed, her soul would be trapped forever, and people like Jack would be dragged into a dark swamp with no escape. Jack felt the weight of his mission heavier than ever. He had to quickly find a way to save the mysterious girl before he lost the last light in his own life. In the nights following his meeting with Harold, Jack began experiencing strange, unexplainable phenomena. As darkness fell, Emily's white ghost grew more vivid around his truck. He felt a bone-chilling cold spreading through the cramped cabin. The truck's doors would sometimes open and slam shut on their own, without him touching them, making his heart race wildly. One night, while parked on a dark roadside, Jack glanced into the rearview mirror and was horrified to see the faint silhouette of a girl in white, standing just behind her. Eyes burned red like fire, filled with sorrow and rage. Jack held his breath, trying to focus, but she vanished like smoke drifting in the cold wind. The feeling of being watched made Jack increasingly tense. Sighs and whispers echoed around him each night, as if desperate pleas and curses tangled endlessly in his mind. Jack struggled to stay calm, yet the chilling signs grew more frequent. Foggy streaks like wet handprints appeared on the glass. Imprints showed on the seat and steering wheel, as if someone had been sitting there, staring at him. He could not sleep peacefully, feeling pursued and pressed at every step. Occasionally, eerie laughter echoed in the air, mingling with indecipherable whispers and the howling cold wind. There was no doubt Emily's spirit was present, trying to reach him, seeking release. But would Jack have the strength to face this tormented ghost, when his own world was being dragged deeper into an inescapable darkness? Jack and Maggie decided to seek out Harold, the old man living near Lake Michigan, rumored to know much about mysticism and ancient curses of the land. Harold's wooden cabin lay hidden deep in the forest, surrounded by ancient trees. A cold, oppressive gloom filled the air. When Jack and Maggie knocked, Harold opened the door. His weathered face was carved by time, and his sharp eyes seemed to pierce the soul. He invited them inside, where a dim fireplace crackled, sending curling smoke through the dark room. Harold began recounting an old curse tied to Lake Michigan and the winding road Jack had traveled. Over a century ago, a wealthy family lived there, but they were condemned for cruel, inhumane deeds. Before execution, the patriarch swore that anyone who disturbed their rest would suffer the vengeance of their restless spirits. He told them restless souls lingered, especially a young girl named Emily, trapped between worlds, unable to find peace because of deep pain and hatred. On stormy nights, her ghost appeared by the lakeside road, searching for someone who could free her. Harold warned Jack that not everyone could see or touch such spirits without being dragged into darkness. The curse threatened not only Emily, but anyone who tried to help her, pulling them into an endless abyss of suffering. Jack listened tensely, fully aware of the heavy burden on his shoulders. Harold handed Jack a small wooden box containing ancient tools for rituals to release trapped souls. If you want to help her, you must prepare your mind and summon courage to face the deepest darkness. The path for this soul is not easy, and the price may be high. Jack and Maggie left the cabin into the biting cold that seeped into their bones. They knew they were entering a dangerous journey where the boundary between life and death grew thinner than ever. But to save Emily, they were ready to face any peril and sacrifice themselves. That night, lying on the old bed in the small lakeside house, Jack's mind would not rest. Harold's words echoed like a warning bell ringing deep in his soul. He felt drawn into another world where the line between reality and spirit blurred. Suddenly, a vivid, painful dream took hold. Jack saw himself standing on a muddy road, rain pouring heavily, the cold numbing every cell. Before him lay the motionless body of a girl in white, her face disfigured, blood smeared everywhere. He tried to run closer, but every step felt weighted, as if pulled by an invisible force. Whispers rose from the darkness around, pleading voices, painful groans mixed with the cold wind's howl. Emily appeared beside him, not the girl he had met, but a monstrous form, her face twisted with hatred and despair, eyes glowing red like burning embers. She whispered, "Help me. I'm trapped. Can't leave. Only you can save me." Jack felt his heart choke, as if holding the fate of a desperate soul pleading for rescue. He tried to speak, but words stuck in his throat. Only the steady rain fell, and whispers echoed endlessly in the dream, pulling him deeper into darkness. When he woke, Jack felt no longer himself. The dream was no mere dream, but a mysterious summons on invisible thread, drawing him closer to the realm of ghosts and shadows. He knew his journey was just beginning. To save Emily, he had to venture into the darkest corners of past and present, where horrific secrets awaited revelation. Jack and Maggie decided to visit Emily's old house, hoping to find important clues. The house sat deep within a dense forest, long abandoned and overrun with wild plants. The windows were tightly shut, covered in dust and thick cobwebs hanging. Everywhere as they stepped through the rotten wooden door, a cold, musty air instantly enveloped them. Darkness clung to every corner, with only the faint beam of Maggie's small flashlight cutting through the gloom. The wind howled through cracks, mixing with the creaking of the decayed wooden floorboards, making the space eerily alive. In the living room, they found old belongings, a rocking chair gently swaying as if someone had just left it, and a faded portrait of Emily hanging on the wall, its colors dimmed by time. Maggie carefully flipped through scattered pages of an old diary on the table. The faint, faded handwriting revealed Emily's lonely, fearful life before her death. Suddenly, a cold gust blew through, extinguishing the flashlight. Both froze. In the thick darkness, a faint whisper echoed through the air. "Help me. Free me." Jack clearly sensed a heavy, invisible presence full of pain. He whispered, "Emily, we're here to help you." Maggie found a small box containing strange objects, an ancient charm, a black and white photo of Emily beside a mysterious man, and an unsent letter filled with desperate pleas. Secrets from the old house gradually unveiled a tragic story of a girl betrayed and deceived, who died in agony and deep resentment. Her soul was trapped, not only by her sudden death, but by unresolved dark shadows from her past. Jack and Maggie left the house weighed down with sorrow, knowing they had stepped deeper into a dark world where every step hid danger and restless spirits unwilling to be forgotten. But they could not stop life and death intertwined in a dangerous game they had to end. Jack and Maggie decided to return to the town library to learn more about the man in the photo and the unsent letter found. In Emily's old house, they spent hours digging through archives, newspapers, and old documents, hoping to piece together the missing fragments of this painful story. Eventually, they discovered the man was Thomas Caldwell, a wealthy and powerful businessman closely connected to the Blackwood family. However, records soon revealed that Thomas and Emily's relationship was far from peaceful. Accusations of abuse, violence, and cruel conspiracies surfaced. The unsent letter was Emily's desperate plea to Thomas, begging him to change, forgive, and give her a chance to escape her suffering. But it seemed her plea had never been answered. Jack felt Emily's pain as a deep, unhealed wound in her soul. It was Thomas's betrayal and cruelty that had kept her trapped between worlds, unable to move on. Before leaving the library, Maggie found an old article about a horrific car accident on the road by Lake Michigan on the day Emily died. The article emphasized that Thomas Caldwell disappeared immediately after the accident, with no one knowing his whereabouts. Jack and Maggie began to suspect Thomas's deep involvement in Emily's tragic fate, perhaps even the direct cause of her death. They resolved to confront this dark past, knowing they would face ghosts not only in their minds, but in the real world. Their journey was now not only about freeing Emily's soul, but also about exposing the truth, unveiling dark secrets, and facing the terrifying consequences they might bring. Determined to find clues about Thomas Caldwell, Jack and Maggie planned a visit to the neighboring town, where Thomas once owned an abandoned mansion deep within a dense forest. The mansion had been deserted for many years, now covered with vines and thick weeds. Upon arrival, they immediately felt the heavy, gloomy atmosphere surrounding the mansion. The rusted iron gate creaked open under the cold wind, revealing a dark corridor thick with dust and cobwebs. Their footsteps echoed in the chilly silence. Jack and Maggie explored the rooms, searching for any sign related to Thomas or Emily. In Thomas's study, Maggie found an old notebook filled with scrawled writing and mysterious symbols. Some pages revealed secret meetings, threats, and lies meant to cover up brutal crimes. As they continued exploring, a strong gust suddenly blew through, rattling a window open with a piercing howl like a mournful cry. Jack felt a cold shiver down his spine and caught a glimpse of a girl in white, flickering at the edge of his vision. He turned around but saw nothing but thick darkness. Maggie whispered, "Emily is still here. She can't leave this place." Suddenly, a chilling laughter echoed throughout the mansion, mixed with unintelligible whispers. Jack and Maggie knew they had reached the darkest depths, where Emily's soul and horrifying secrets awaited. They decided to continue their investigation, knowing that every step might pull them into an unpredictable, dangerous spiral. This story was no longer just about salvation, but a deadly battle between light and darkness. Jack and Maggie left the abandoned mansion, but their minds were still haunted by the secrets they had uncovered. On the way back, heavy rain began to fall, each cold drop clinging to their skin, making the air thick and filled with a gloomy atmospheric. When the car stopped by the winding road around Lake Michigan, Jack saw Emily's white apparition again, clearer than ever. She stood there, her white dress fluttering in the wind, her eyes full of pain as if trying to convey a silent message, "Help me, before it's too late." Jack's heart tightened at that desperate plea. He knew time was running out. The darkness was closing in, and Emily's soul might remain trapped forever, if not freed. But Maggie suggested they prepare a ritual based on the instructions from Mr. Harold to help Emily find peace. They gathered candles, talismans, and ancient prayer scrolls. As night fell, Jack and Maggie returned to the dark road by Lake Michigan. They lit candles and recited prayers amid the howling wind and steady rain. Emily's white spirit gradually appeared, not the sorrowful girl, but a faint glowing figure. As if freed from invisible chains, the wind blew stronger, carrying eerie sounds and whispers from the unseen world. The candle flames danced, creating a mystical atmosphere full of supernatural power. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the night, a scream of pain and resentment that shook the quiet lake. Emily's ghost quietly faded into the mist, leaving Jack and Maggie standing in the silent space with an indescribable sense of relief. They knew a cycle had ended, but darkness remained, and untold secrets waited to be revealed. Jack felt he had done something meaningful, but understood that the battle between light and darkness would never truly end. The night after the ritual, Jack and Maggie returned home in silence. Though relieved by Emily's disappearance, the darkness around them could not be forgotten. The heavy rain continued, and the howling wind through the cracks felt like endless warnings. The next morning, Jack received an unsigned letter with a scrawled message. "You have opened a door he should not have." The chilling threat hinted at dangers yet to come. Maggie delved deeper into the symbols and talismans used in the ritual, discovering that Emily's presence was only a small part of an ancient curse tied to the Lake Michigan area. Legend said this curse could drag weak souls into an endless vortex of darkness, consuming both body and spirit. Though they had freed Emily, Jack and Maggie might have awakened a more dangerous force lurking in the shadows. As night fell, strange signs appeared. Strange noises outside the window, fleeting shadows in the mirror, and haunting dreams that refused to end. Jack felt he was no longer master of his life, but being led by invisible forces into a dark labyrinth. They decided to return to Mr. Harold's house seeking help, hoping to confront the ancient ghost awakening and growing stronger, unaware that each step into the darkness brought them closer to a bottomless abyss where light and hope were only distant memories. The true battle, fraught with hardship and danger, was only just beginning. Jack and Maggie entered Mr. Harold's house as night enveloped everything. The air inside was heavy, carrying unresolved painful history. Mr. Harold sat by the fireplace, his sharp yet wary eyes seemingly knowing all that was to come. He spoke of the ancient ghost, a cursed spirit from hundreds of years ago, connected to Lake Michigan and the surrounding lands, a powerful soul filled with deep hatred and desire for revenge against anyone disturbing its rest. He explained that helping Emily was only the first step. Awakening the ancient ghost could unleash unimaginable disasters. This spirit could possess the weak or those involved, turning them into tools for evil and dangerous deeds. Mr. Harold handed Jack and Maggie an ancient set of talismans and rituals for sealing the ghost, but warned that to perform the ritual, they must confront darkness directly, where the boundary between life and death blurs. Jack and Maggie resolved not to retreat. They prepared everything, ready for the final confrontation with the ancient ghost, knowing the cost could be great. That night, they returned to the winding road by Lake Michigan, where thick darkness and howling winds echoed like the lamentations of trapped souls. They began the sealing ritual, prayers reverberating, flames flickering fiercely in the strong wind. The ancient ghost appeared, a towering black figure with burning red eyes like fire scorching everything. A chilling scream of hatred shook the tranquil lake. Jack and Maggie kept calm, using talismans and rituals as light gradually pushed away darkness. The battle between light and dark was intense, every moment a struggle for survival. Finally, the ancient ghost faded, restoring peace to Lake Michigan. But traces of darkness remained as a reminder that light must always stay vigilant against lurking evil. Jack and Maggie stood by the lakeshore, gazing at the distant horizon, knowing that horrific journey had ended, but the memories and lessons would never fade. The next morning, as the weak sunlight filtered through the mist over Lake Michigan, Jack and Maggie stood by the water's edge, feeling the peace that followed the long nights battling darkness. The fresh, still air seemed to dissolve all tension, yet deep within their hearts remained the lasting marks of everything they had endured. Jack looked at Maggie, his eyes filled with gratitude and emotion. "We did it. Emily is finally free." Maggie nodded, but her voice still carried a hint of concern. "But we must also remember, there are many shadows in this world yet to be revealed, and not everyone is as lucky as Emily." They knew this journey was not just the story of a lonely spirit by Lake Michigan, but a testament to the endless struggle between light and darkness in every person's life. Jack decided to record everything that had happened, the mysteries, the pain, and the mystical moments they experienced. He hoped the story would serve as a warning to those who dare to face the ghosts of the past, and as a reminder of the power of courage and love. Together, Maggie and he began writing a journal, noting every detail from their first encounters with Emily to the final sealing ritual. They understood that although the spirit had departed, the memories and lessons from this journey would live on forever in their hearts, under the warm sunlight of a new day. The two siblings walked along the winding road by Lake Michigan, more confident and determined than ever. They were no longer strangers to darkness, but had become guardians of the light, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And the story of the girl in white by Lake Michigan, the spirit Emily, would be passed down as a legend, a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, light can shine brilliantly if we dare to believe and fight for it.
Thank you for following.